Allow me to take your mind off the fact that Donald Trump is now president, and let's focus on some happier things.
Down to the wire.
How's it going, guys? This is Down to the Wire. I'm Shawn. Andres Franken is not with me. He has abandoned me and left me alone to do my first solo video. Today I want to talk to you guys about TFC. And why TFC, you might ask? Because they have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals for the MLS Cup for the first time in their existence. So for those of you that don't know much about TFC, let me start by giving you a brief rundown. They were formed 10 years ago, and in 2007, they played their first game in BMO Field. For the first couple of years, though, they really struggled. In fact, they looked like a house league team, except a slightly better version. Literally, all they did was play the ball from the back, lob it over to the top, and hope for the best. There was no tactics involved. This team did not look that great against other MLS teams. However, the MLS back then wasn't that great to begin with. But things have changed. TFC now plays with a bit more spark, a lot more tactics, and they are looking like a professional soccer team, the way it should be. And the MLS is developing into a better league as the years go on. Like I mentioned, for the first 2 seasons though, TFC did struggle, but the fans kept pouring in. BMO Field kept selling out. In 2012, however, things did start to slow down, and TFC did not look like a great team. The progress just stalled. Fans were getting restless and they were frustrated with this team. But now, just 4 years later, this team looks like a completely different team. Arguably one of the best teams in the MLS right now. Not many teams can compete with them. So why the sudden turnaround? Why is this team so good? Well, there are several reasons, but one of the biggest reasons has to be Sebastian Giovinco. Now, Sebastian Giovinco is an Italian forward, and arguably one of the best players in the MLS right now. But he was even included in the final 3 for the MLS MVP award. I know, right? Go figure. I guess that's what he gets for playing in Toronto. This just might be one of the biggest snubs for the MLS MVP award ever. Last season, Giovinco won the MLS MVP award with a total of 22 goals and 13 assists in approximately 33 games. This season, however, he only had 17 goals and 14 assists in 28 games. He didn't play that great, you know. It's not like he is a huge reason why Toronto FC is where they are. He really isn't. He had nothing to do with it. He didn't play as hard as he could, game in and game out. Are you kidding me? Not only did he have 17 goals and 14 assists, but he was also injured towards the end of the season. He came back from this injury and scored a crucial goal in Toronto FC's first ever playoff win. After he was snubbed for the final 3, he scored a hat-trick against New York City FC, making a statement and proving why he is one of the best players in the MLS right now. And as if being left off the shortlist for the MVP award wasn't enough, the Italian coach Ventura decided to leave him off the Italian national team lineup as well. Yet again, they decided to overlook Sebastian Giovinco, and Coach Ventura said, the MLS doesn't count, and this is why we're not picking him. Pretty harsh words, right? But he also went on to say that because Giovinco plays in the MLS, he's lost his spark and his hunger for the game. Seriously? Does this guy even watch the MLS? Does this guy watch Sebastian Giovinco play? I don't think so. Sebastian Giovinco tries his hardest every single game. In fact, when you watch TFC play, there's not a moment that goes by that Giovinco isn't trying to create something when he has the ball or even off the ball. He's making his way into areas for his teammates to give him the ball or to create space for his teammates. He may be small and he may not be the strongest player, but he can do a lot of damage. Now, I get Ventura's philosophy. He wants to keep it within the Italian league for some reason, and he only called up a total of 4 players outside the Italian league, one of them being Simone Zaza from West Ham. Now, for those of you that don't know who Simone Zaza is, let me refresh your memory. If you watch the Euro Cup, he is known for his infamous penalty kick, where he ran up with the stutter and skied it over the net. Quite possibly one of the worst penalty kicks I've seen in recent memory, and there have been a lot of bad ones. Not only is Zaza known for this penalty kick, but he also has 0 goals in 7 games played so far this season. He also only had 5 goals for Juventus all of last season. But for some reason, Zaza is picked over Giovinco, and they both play the same position, by the way. All I'm saying is Giovinco deserves a shot and Ventura doesn't seem to want to give him that. It's just a little unfair. But enough about Giovinco, the Italian team, and the MVP award, because as good as Giovinco is, he's not the only reason why TFC is where they are today. It's the entire team. This is a team sport. TFC's chemistry is flowing and the morale is high at just the right time. Seriously, their last game against New York City FC proved that. They were dominant. In fact, it was the most dominant performance in MLS Cup history. They finished the game 5-0 and they finished on aggregate 7-0. And some of you might be thinking, is New York City even good? Well, let's not go that far. New York City FC has an incredible attack, but TFC's defense was that much stronger, sometimes not even allowing New York City FC anywhere near the net. By the second game, it was over within the first 10 minutes. TFC scoring just 6 minutes in, and the game was pretty much done from there. And not only is this team going, but the fans are going with them. The fans' energy is what this team feeds off of. It's what any team feeds off of. When the energy in the crowd is high and the fans are cheering, as an athlete, that's huge. You feed off of that stuff. And I feel like TFC's fans have a lot to do with their success right now. So with the fans being behind them and the chemistry and the morale being at an all-time high, there is not much that could stop this team. And hopefully, they could ride this wave of energy all the way to the final. So let's talk about TFC's opponents right now. The Montreal Impact. Right. Toronto versus Montreal. A classic sports rivalry. Now, Toronto FC versus Montreal Impact is better known as the 401 Derby. And this marks a new chapter in the Toronto versus Montreal sports rivalry. Now, this rivalry goes back 100 years to when the Leafs versus Montreal Canadiens started. However, things didn't really heat up until the 1940s, when you basically had the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens battling it out to see who would be the top team in the NHL year after year. Then we had the Toronto Argonauts and the Montreal Alouettes, another classic sports rivalry. This rivalry didn't begin until 1946 when the Toronto Argos and the Montreal Alouettes battled it out and Toronto Argonauts won 12-6 in the Eastern Conference Finals. These days, however, the Toronto versus Montreal rivalry has slowly started to simmer down. However, this can reignite the battle. You have Toronto FC and the Montreal Impact battling it out to see who is going to reach the finals for the first time in their team's existence and be the first Canadian team ever to reach the MLS Finals. This is a big deal. Along with this, Canadian soccer can change drastically. Canadian soccer has always had potential. However, because of where we live, it is often overshadowed by ice hockey, basketball, and even American football sometimes. Aside from the women's national team, Canadian soccer hasn't really taken off. This could be due to the fact that the men's team is not that great. However, even the men's national team attendance is slowly starting to go up. An all-Canadian Eastern Conference final could and should encourage sports fans all across the country to watch this game. And if it's going to take the big three, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, to push Canadian soccer in the right direction, then so be it. But hopefully, one day, other cities will join in and potentially get more Canadian soccer teams in the MLS because there is room for growth. But back to the game. Toronto FC versus the Montreal Impact has some serious potential. In fact, they did meet last season in Toronto FC's first ever playoff game. The Montreal Impact won that game 3-0 at BMO Field. Embarrassing loss for Toronto FC. However, this season, like I said, Toronto FC is a different team. And the way things are clicking, there's no reason why Toronto FC can't win this game. It will be a tough battle though, and it will be a really physical game. So Canada, one of these teams is going to be in the finals of the MLS Cup. And Toronto fans, I encourage you, forget about the Leafs for a second. And forget about the Raptors too. And during this month, more specifically on November 22nd, cheer on this team because they're going to need the support. And you could just be witnessing history. Let's go TFC. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. This is my first solo video, as I mentioned before. Hit like if you like it, hit subscribe if you really like it, and continue to share. We appreciate the support. And also don't forget to comment what you liked, what you didn't like. We hope you guys are liking the new format. We are trying to improve. Oh, and one more thing, since we are doing daily quotes now. If it's important to you, you will find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. Oh, so kind of like you did. I'm just kidding. I will be back with a new video next week. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.